What was the idiotic game you and your stupid friends played growing up? My buddies and I used to turn all the lights out in the basement and throw those giant exercise balls through the pitch blackness in random directions trying to hit each other. The fear, the anticipation, and the sound of the ball whistling through the dark. The game had only downsides and shouldn't have ever been created. Water balloon fights with the addition of 1 or 2 death missiles that were milk jugs full of water. Rock fights on a playground with those smooth pebbles instead of sand. You weren't allowed to throw singles, but you could throw handfuls. What's your best, most offensive NSFW joke? What does a pregnant 14-year-old and her fetus have in common? They're both thinking, my mom's gonna kill me. Say what you want about pedophiles, but they'll never speed in a school zone. Say what you want about deaf people. A man walks into the doctor's office and says, "Doctor, my butt hurts." "All right, tell me where," says the doctor. "Right around the entrance, sir. I think as long as you keep calling it the entrance it's going to hurt." How old were you when you discovered that a job is simply a means to bring money to the table instead of a dreamy experience you get to enjoy every day? I think I always knew. That's why I wanted to be a garbage man when I was 3. I thought they only worked 1 day a week because I only saw them once a week. Probably in 5th grade, when my dad got laid off from his white-collar job and went to work as a security guard because we needed the paycheck. There's a realistic in-between, a job that you enjoy for much of the time that's not always perfect. Shoot for a job that doesn't kill your soul and allows you to support yourself and or your family. I found one. What is the worst first date you have ever been on or seen? At lunch today I was sitting next to a couple and a friend of theirs that they were setting up a blind double date with. Dude was wearing Black Rifles Matter shirt, and when the girl arrived she was in a March for Our Lives shirt. It was the most quiet, awkward, fast lunch date I have ever seen. My friend was asked by a date, very early into said date, "Are you on your period?" I have this strange talent where I can always smell when a girl is on her period. She picked up her bag and left immediately. But was she on her period? She actually was, which was probably the most unnerving part of it all. What's the best insult you have ever heard? "I will replace you with a button." New Zealanders who leave for Australia raise the IQ of both countries. Terry, having you around is like losing 3 good men. 2 of my cooks a long time ago were in a fight and someone said to the other, "You are the human version of a mustard stain on a wife beater." You're not completely worthless, you can always be used as a bad example. Bill Gates said, "I will always choose a lazy person to do a difficult job because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it." What's a real life example of this? I was working as a stock boy in a supermarket, and when we had to fill the milk cooler, people would bust open a 12-pack of milk cartons and put them in one by one. On my first day I just placed the 12-pack in the cooler and cut the plastic off on one side with my box cutter and yanked it from under it, and the look of the store manager and the other employee who was training me was pure bewilderment. From that day everyone did it my way. Start of lockdown, my 9-year-old son was having worksheets emailed to complete at home. One day, left him at the laptop doing his maths while I made some dinner with my 3-year-old daughter. Walked into the living room with his dinner to find him asking the Alexa all of his maths questions. What if Earth is like one of those uncontacted tribes in South America, like the whole galaxy knows we're here but they've agreed not to contact us until we figure it out for ourselves? And crop circles are just teenager aliens doing graffiti. What if aliens showed up here millions of years ago, saw a planet inhabited by enormous lizard monsters and said, "F that, don't come back to this place"? They probably treat us like animals on National Geographic. What if the people that were abducted by aliens were actually abducted by some alien TV host equivalent of the Crocodile Hunter, where he abducts a human and shows it off? Crikey, what an interesting little fella this is. Steve Irwin has you pinned down in a headlock. What cool facts does he tell the audience about you and your habitat? Wow, get a load of this, Sheila. I can imagine this one spending all of her free time sleeping in her lil hidey hole, only coming out 5 times a week to spend hours at a place where she probably regrets being at in the first place, and she'll do this most weeks of her life all the way up until she dies. This one's pretty big for a female too, bigger than most average males actually. Don't think that gives her any luck during the mating season. Oi, now looky here. Notice how he seems almost entirely apathetic to my attack. That's because he spends almost every waking moment pretending not to be bothered by the current situation he is in, despite the fact that he is incredibly irritated. To him, this is just another Monday morning staff meeting. He is truly a gorgeous example of mental endurance. What life-changing item can you buy for less than $100? 2 pet ducks. You may be tempted to go for one. But trust me, you need 2, and you'll have about $76 left over. Another monitor. Your productivity will increase dramatically. I have 3. But maybe you are right. AeroPress coffee maker. The thing broke my wife of her $200? Monthly Starbucks habit. The unit costs maybe $25 or so. Houseplants. They will make you happy looking after them. I recently bought a Venus fly trap. She caught her first fly today. So proud. What is something free from the internet everyone should take advantage of? GoodRx. If you haven't seen the depressing commercials, this is an app that gives you discounts on prescription medications. My dog has epilepsy and I save about $200 a month on his pills. Not exactly legal, but Z Library has PDF copies of almost every publication ever, including books, magazines, textbooks, and science journals. I use it for PDF copies of books I already own. It does nothing but free up space. I bring to you radio.garden, my friend. Radio stations from around the globe. Just spin it a bit and click where you want to get a list of radio stations from that country. Great for people who like foreign music, language learners, or people looking to reconnect with something back home. You have just been cheated out of $1,000 for a stupid brick. How do you take revenge? Beat the shit out of myself with the brick for being that dumb. You can drill a hole into the brick and make this happen. Can't afford a drill. I just spent $1,000 on a brick. Write Supreme on it. Sell it on eBay as the brick from that Reddit thread and hopefully somebody rich buys it for more than $1,000. Say hey, what's red and bad for your teeth? And when they open their mouths to say something, hit them in the face with the brick. George Carlin said, think of how stupid the average person is, and realize half of them are stupider than that. What real-life example have you seen that validates this view? I'm a physician. I doctor specifically. I will tell you that the longer I work, now 15 years, my standard for the average person continues to decline. Case in point, thanks to the awful information filtering out there, I had a patient just last week who read that vitamin D helps you resist a coronavirus infection. Well, he had also read that you can get more vitamin D by getting more sun. So he wanted to collect as much light as possible with his eyes. As a result, he stared at the sun for a solid 60 seconds and burned holes directly into his retinas, permanently reducing his vision with no chance at future improvement. Former flat earthers, what made you come round? The Mobius strip earthers had more compelling arguments. Quote I got from somewhere. For 5 years I believed the earth was flat, then I turned 6. I convinced a flat earther, temporarily, by asking him if it was possible for a sphere to be so large that you could not tell it was a sphere by simply being on the surface of it. It took him a while. I used an analogy of an extremely long line that was so slightly curved you could not tell so by looking at a small section of it. Eventually he said yes to the sphere and I told him that was how big the earth is. A few days later he reverted. Most of these people aren't mentally stable. They believe in a lot of conspiracies. If instead of rebooting movies, retelling them from a different point of view became popular, which movie would you like retold? Air Bud, but told from the POV of the kid who was pulled out of a basketball game to be replaced by a dog. An alien invasion movie told strictly from the aliens' perspective, complete with their confusion about why the humans are responding the way they are. It would make sense to us but would take the narrative form of a mystery for them. It could be a clever way to illustrate cultural misunderstanding. An example could be, let's show them we are friendly by revealing all our weapons, to demonstrate we aren't hiding anything, which the humans would take as a threat. I always liked that about the Borg on Star Trek. They genuinely thought they were helping the people they were conquering. A villain is scarier when it thinks it's doing the right thing. How the F do you make friends as an adult if you don't drink? Related, I drink a ton and I don't have many friends. I started inviting people from online dating sites who said they were looking for friends to play D&D. Some of them were actually looking for friends. I also started a fencing group in my area and advertised it in relevant Facebook groups. A few people showed up and now we occasionally do things that aren't fencing related. Slowly, hobbies, community involvement, through work. Good luck. Have you considered joining a cult? Doctors of Reddit, what's it like when you go in for a doctor's appointment? Do you and your doctor discuss what's wrong with you like it's a group project? Do you not go at all because you're your own doctor? Doctor here, it is a bit dependent on the field of medicine involved. For example, I don't know much about neurological issues, so if I went to see a neurologist I certainly wouldn't be chipping in. For more generic conditions I have previously offered my thoughts to my doctor about what it could be. Ultimately I still go to the doctor as they can prescribe drugs/order tests for me that would be difficult/questionable for me to do myself. If you had the ability to instantly give any person an orgasm, simply by pointing your hand at them like a finger gun and saying pew, how would you wield this power? Assuming all the orgasm haver needs to do is see and hear the finger guns, I'm getting on TV. Oh hey, local TV station, your viewers are about to have an awesome day. It starts small, but quickly spreads to regional and then national affiliates as the footage is linked to a spike in ER visits from elderly citizens with heart conditions. By the end of the week, my first fingerbang is the highest viewed video on CNN runs a story warning of the danger of such power and questions whether I am a friend or foe. I spend some time on the run from the same scientist that sought ET for a time back in the 80s. I'm careful with my power now, but now and again I have to fingerbang someone into submission just to escape. What mind-blowing, but simple, facts would satisfy a 4-year-old daughter's daily request for one fact before bedtime? Dogs can tell when you're coming home by how much of your scent is left in the house if you have a daily routine. Most people have more than the average number of arms. A day on Venus takes longer to complete than a year on Venus. How? It simply takes longer for Venus to do one complete rotation around its own axis than it does for the planet to rotate around the Sun. Otters have skin pockets for their favorite rocks.